Greetings, Earthlings. Why me? Well, why am I doing this? Because Spock's my man. Funny, as I started in the high school, Star Trek was coming on TV, and I don't know if my parents really would have cared if they'd have known I was watching it, but I'd go down in the basement and watch it on an old TV set. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was in black and white, so I, didn't even. So anyway, I would watch that and I thought Spock was the guy. Using common sense, using logic seemed like the right way to do things, instead of allowing your emotions to control you. And I really felt, believe it or not, that you could control your body. And in a couple ways I did. For example, when I'd go out to the bus stop, of course in the winter it'd be freezing cold and everybody else is shaking and carrying on. I finally decided there was no purpose in shivering, and so I stopped. And now today I don't shiver at all. I don't think about it. I just walk outside, doesn't matter how cold it is. I don't go, oh man, son of a bitch, it's cold out here. Of course, that was something else I also stopped doing. Complaining about things that everybody complains about. It's too hot, it's too cold, too wet, too dry. Anything that had to do with the weather, that was not even territory I even wanted to discuss. It's ridiculous, how everybody uses that for small talk. Another couple things. Because I worked on a farm, because I had a farm and all that, you go out in the barn where there was flies all over the place. Well, after a while, I just quit swatting them. They could walk all over me all they wanted. And the less I'd swat them, it seemed like the less they bothered me. Another thing is sweating. I didn't bother wiping the sweat off my face. I just let it drip right off the end of my nose. It didn't bother me once I got used to it. I was no different than anybody else. Just like if I go out and I was mowing the lawn, believe it or not, one of the things I absolutely hated was the fact that we had grasshoppers all over the place, and they'd land on you and them little feet would get you going, well now that doesn't bother me at all. And a lot of times when I look at something, when I'm realizing I'm going to have to do something I don't want to do, I tell myself, you know what, I can do this. It's, like gutting a deer. I didn't want to do that to save my life, but my son wanted to be a hunter, so I had to learn. And, so Spock kind of helped me out. Now, I don't want to give him the credit. I know now where the guidance was coming from, but at the time, he was my man, and common sense like that really helped me out. Share something else I was doing back at that time, just as I was getting into high school and all. I was building a lot of go-karts and things like that, and doing a lot of construction. And I was into electronics, just do about anything. And in the end, I think I've built about 8 to 10 go-karts, depending on what you want to call a go-kart, because some of them were more like dune buggies than go-karts. But yeah, I've been involved in that kind of stuff, and building with leaf springs and hydrostatic transmissions, manual transmissions. But I was just doing that, and I would do it with whatever was laying around. I was sort of like MacGyver. I just take something that I had, cut it up. Wouldn't even think about the fact my parents might kill me because I would cut up one of my other toys, if you will, to make something else. But it taught me a lot, and it made me also somewhat daring. One of the things I found out, though, is I couldn't get away with anything. It seemed like whenever I wanted to act like some of the rest of the guys in school or something like that, I was going to get caught. One example of that, the teacher had left the room. He was talking to somebody, and this was a rowdy group anyway. This was the VOAG class. And everybody's just tearing it up, and I happen to have a paper bag there, and I decided I'm going to pop this sucker. I blew that up. Now, normally for me, things never work. Well, in this case, the sucker blew up, and it was so damn loud. Literally, the teacher came in running because he was worried something had happened. I mean, it sounded like an explosion. And I figured, just my luck. And I'm sitting there in my seat, and everybody's standing up because they've been jumping on the desks and everything else. And he didn't look at me at all because he didn't expect me to be the one who had done it. But anyway, he started hounding us about who did it, and I just raised my hand and said that I did it. And he said he'd talk to me later. After he left to go back to talking to whoever he was talking to, the guys all said, "Why'd you do that? We wouldn't have told on you." Yeah, right. You never know. Anyway, another time, I think I was, my brother and my cousin were throwing crab apples at cars as they were going by. We were staying down at my grandparents' house, and I come out there, and those two are telling me how they threw ones here and did that and did this and all that stuff. And so I pick up a crab apple, very first one. Now listen, I'm terrible at throwing. I miss everything, you know, terrible. Van goes by, and I throw it, bam, right in the side of that van. Of course, it rung out because you know how they're hollow sounding. This was a construction van. He hit his brakes, and you heard the wheels squealing as he comes to a stop, and he turns in to come up the back street, and I go running. And I get to the back of the house, and I thought, where am I going? Besides, they're going to get in trouble for what I did. I turned around, and I started coming back out, and as I come around the corner, there's my grandmother standing up on the porch, and and this guy standing on the walk to the house. And she's asking him, "Is there anything broke on your van?" He goes, "Well, no." He says, "But I just had somebody throw a rock through my windshield the other day and all this stuff." And anyway, she told him, she says, "Do I owe you anything?" And he said, no. And she says, "Well, I'll take care of my grandson. You know, he won't be doing that anymore." Right? And of course, I'm not really worried about her. I'm worried about this getting back to my father. You know, I thought, I'm dead. I am dead. So anyway, he leaves, and my grandmother tells me to come inside, and as soon as we get in the door, she says, "Your father will never hear about this." And he never did. I finally told him here just a few years ago. And then I went in and sat with my grandfather, He was would always, after he was done working at the orchard, which was just play, he had already retired. Anyway, he would sit there drinking his beer or his wine or his whiskey, whatever it was that day he wanted. And he says, well, I guess you know better than to do that again. And he's laughing. I'm going, yeah, Grandpa, I know better. I won't do it again. He says, yeah. He says, I don't expect you will. You know, so after a little while, trying to settle my nerves, I go outside, and was my brother, my cousin say, we wouldn't have told on you. Why'd you come back around? You know, because I won't get away with it. That's why. Something else, though, I'm going to share with you, too, that was kind of strange about me. You know, I sit there saying I'd watch TV and I'd watch, you know, Star Trek, and I'd watch some other stuff. Believe it or not, I'd watch Tom Jones. And and I would watch I Love Lucy, but I hated it. Now you'd think, well, why'd you hate that? That was a really funny show. You know, I couldn't stand the idea that this lady every week would make the same damn mistakes. She would do something stupid, assume something the wrong way, and then try to cover it up. But anyway, she would make a mess out of something that didn't need to be made a mess of if she would have just been honest. And I couldn't believe the people were that stupid, even though it was a show, I thought. And that's why, even today, I can't watch most comedy shows. I could watch MASH. That one was pretty good. I could handle that. Seinfeld, couldn't hardly handle that. I mean, sometimes it was funny, but still, the stupidity in it was just overwhelming. I just couldn't believe, you know, people be that stupid. Yet today, I actually now realize, yeah, well, there's a lot of people that are that stupid. In fact, we just had to look at our government for one part of it. They're about the dumbest I've ever seen. I think that's probably the most unintelligent, that's the largest group of low IQ people that ever got together in one group. I mean, I really believe that. They're just dumb as rocks. But anyway, that's a little more of my education as I got into high school. I'll start talking about some of the dumb things I did probably the next installment. So just remember that you don't need to be childish. You're never going to be mature, because that's mean you're perfect. But you can get to a higher level of immaturity, and that ought to be a goal for you. So, thanks for listening.